I just returned from Bangladesh. I thought you'd like to see how your donations are making a difference in one of the world's poorest countries. I have to confess, I've never had any desire to go to Bangladesh, but it is 6th in the world in cleft births, so off I went. It was even poorer than I had feared. In a country slightly smaller than Iowa lived more than 147 million very poor, very frustrated, very unlucky people. 1/3 of them live on less than $1 a day. It's one of the most densely populated countries on earth with a long list of hardships including cyclones, flooding, corruption, political turmoil, and one of the world's highest death rates due to infectious diseases. The average lifespan is just 60 years. Literacy rate is just 50%. Driving around Dhaka, the capital, was depressing. At times it felt like we were driving through a war zone. Slums, shacks, shanties everywhere, wild pigs foraging through rotting garbage, people too poor to afford shoes, sometimes clothes. Not only were most of the people skinny, you could even see the ribs on the camels as they went by. One rare highlight were the Smile Train posters we saw all over town, telling people about our free cleft surgery programs, a small ray of hope in a sea of despair. The next day, we took a tiny 6-seater seaplane on a 2-hour flight up a river to an area where the people are much, much poorer than the people in Dhaka. How could that be possible, I asked myself. In this rural area, the poverty is so bad, the only way to help the sick and the disabled is to bring your own hospital, and that's just what our partners have done. They've turned a simple barge into a floating hospital called Jibon Tari, which means literally floating lifeline. The brains behind this idea is a remarkable man named Mansoor Chowdhury. He's spent his entire life helping other people, which is even more impressive when you meet him and learn that he is completely blind. In addition to helping hundreds of children with clefts, Mansoor and his floating hospital have helped tens of thousands of children and adults suffering with all kinds of disabilities. Don't let the outside fool you. The Jibon Tari has excellent state-of-the-art surgical facilities. The only problem is attracting surgeons to come and work on the boat. In all of Bangladesh, there are only 15 plastic surgeons. America has more than 6,000 plastic surgeons. We toured the hospital and met many children, some who had come from hundreds of kilometers away. Each child we met was different, and yet they all told the same story. Their families were extremely poor, and their parents could never afford to pay for cleft surgery. It was their one chance. They did whatever they had to do to get here. You could see the desperation in their eyes. The first patient home we came to was a ramshackle house cobbled together out of odds and ends. No electricity, no plumbing. The young mother who lived in this home was very kind and very gracious. She told us how appreciative she was of the free surgery her son had received. "Thank you for making my son beautiful," she told us. Everywhere we went, everyone we met was very warm and welcoming, especially the children. We met hundreds of children that day. Each one had a big smile, but not much else. I wondered if any of these kids really knew just what the future held for them. The next thing I knew, I was on a plane headed home. It had been a very successful but exhausting trip. We visited 5 partner hospitals, met with dozens of surgeons, doctors, administrators, hundreds of patients, parents. The only thing left was a brutal 17-hour non-stop plane ride home. The flight attendant was kind enough to lend me her New York magazine. The headlines really stung. Wall Street year-end bonuses to exceed $24 billion. Wow, my head was swimming. I was trying to do the math in my head and figure out just how many $250 cleft surgeries we could do with $24 billion. If you sent us a donation recently, I thank you. Please rest assured that your generosity is making a difference in places like Bangladesh and 60 other of the poorest countries in the world. I hope this report makes you glad you got on board the Smile Train. If you haven't sent us a donation in a while, please consider it. Every year, 200,000 new babies are born with clefts in the poorest areas of the world's poorest countries. Most of these kids never have a chance. They need our help, and we need yours.